In the heart of West Africa, a powerful kingdom once stood, a symbol of strength and defiance. This was the Kingdom of Dahomey, and at its helm was a man whose name would echo through history, the Shark King, the last sovereign ruler of a proud and unconquered people. His story is not just a tale of a fallen monarch. It's a saga of resistance against the rising tide of colonialism, a testament to the enduring spirit of a nation fighting for its soul. Before we dive into the life of Gbehanzin, we must understand the kingdom he inherited. Dahomey, located in modern-day Benin, was no ordinary state. It was a highly centralized military powerhouse, renowned for its formidable army and its unique corps of female warriors, the Agaji, whom Europeans would later call the Dahomey Amazons. The kingdom's economy was complex, built on trade, agriculture, and controversy, its deep involvement in the Atlantic slave trade. However, by the late 19th century, the world was changing. The scramble for Africa had begun, and European powers, particularly France, were carving up the continent, hungry for resources and influence. This was the world Gbehanzin was born into in 1845. His birth name was Kondo, and from a young age, he was groomed for the throne. As crown prince, he was not shielded from the realities of power. He was a keen observer of his father, King Gliel, and the intricate politics of the court. He saw firsthand the increasing pressure from the French, who had established a protectorate over the neighboring kingdom of Porto Novo, a traditional rival of Dahomey. Kondo watched as treaties were signed, promises were made, and French ambitions grew ever larger, inching closer and closer to his homeland. He developed a deep-seated mistrust of European intentions, a sentiment that would define his reign. In 1889, King Gliel died, and Kondo ascended to the throne, taking the royal name Gbehanzin. His name was a prophecy, a powerful statement of intent. It meant the world holds the egg that the earth desires, symbolizing his determination to protect his kingdom, his people, his heredità, precious egg from the grasp of the outside world. He was in his mid-40s, a formidable figure, known for his intelligence, his imposing presence, and his unwavering resolve. Unlike his father, who had often sought diplomatic solutions, Gbehanzin believed that confrontation with the French was inevitable. He was a warrior king, ready to defend Dahomey's sovereignty at all costs. Almost immediately, tensions escalated. The flashpoint was the coastal city of Katana. The French claimed a treaty signed with King Gliel gave them rights to the city, a vital port for trade. Gbehanzin vehemently disputed this claim, arguing the treaty was misinterpreted or fraudulent. He saw Katana not just as a piece of land, but as a critical economic artery for his kingdom. To surrender it would be to surrender Dahomey's independence. He refused to back down. This defiance set the stage for the First Franco-Dahomeyan War in 1890. Gbehanzin mobilized his army, including the legendary Agaji warriors. The Dahomeyan forces were disciplined and fierce, fighting with a courage that stunned the French. They launched attacks on French positions in Katana, demonstrating that they were a force to be reckoned with. The French, though possessing superior weaponry like machine guns and artillery, found themselves locked in a brutal and costly conflict. After months of fighting, both sides were exhausted. A fragile peace was negotiated, but it was clear to everyone that this was merely a pause, not a resolution. Gbehanzin had proven his kingdom would not be easily conquered, but the French were more determined than ever to break his power. During the brief period of peace, Gbehanzin tried to modernize his army. Aware of the technological gap, he attempted to purchase modern weapons from German and Belgian traders, preparing for the next inevitable conflict. He was a pragmatist, a strategist who understood the nature of the threat he faced. He wasn't just a traditional ruler. He was a head of state navigating a perilous geopolitical landscape. citing renewed disputes and Dahomeyan raids. The French launched a full-scale invasion under the command of Colonel Alfred Amadi Dodds, a man of mixed French and Senegalese heritage. This was the Second Franco-Dahomeyan War, a campaign of conquest. The French assembled a massive force, far larger and better equipped than before. Gbehanzin rallied his people for a final, desperate defense of their homeland. The motto of his army was "Conquer or die." The fighting was savage. The Dahomeyan army, armed with a mix of older rifles and traditional weapons, fought with incredible bravery. The Agaji, in particular, were legendary for their ferocity, often fighting to the last woman. They charged French lines fearlessly, their courage becoming the stuff of legend. But courage alone could not stop the relentless advance of a modern colonial army. Battle after battle, the French pushed deeper into Dahomey's territory. They burned villages, destroyed crops, and systematically dismantled the kingdom's infrastructure. The technological disparity was simply too great. The Dahomeyan warriors fell in their thousands before French machine guns. For over 2 years, Gbehanzin led a brilliant but doomed resistance. He employed guerrilla tactics, launching surprise attacks and ambushes, making the French pay for every inch of ground. He became a phantom, evading capture and inspiring his people to keep fighting even when all seemed lost. He moved his capital from the grand city of Dahomey to the forests and hills, continuing the struggle. He refused to surrender the egg of his nation, but by late 1893, the situation was hopeless. The capital of Dahomey had fallen. The French torched the royal palaces, a symbolic act of destruction aimed at erasing the very memory of the kingdom. Gbehanzin's army was shattered. His people were starving, and he was a fugitive in his own land. He was cornered, isolated, and exhausted. On January 29, 1894, faced with the complete devastation of his kingdom and the suffering of his people, Gbehanzin made the agonizing decision to surrender. He didn't surrender to Colonel Dodds directly, but to another French officer, signaling his continued defiance. He famously said he would not surrender to the man who had destroyed his kingdom. He surrendered not as a defeated warrior, but as a king trying to save what was left of his nation. The French, wary of his immense influence, refused to let him remain in Africa. They saw him as a permanent symbol of resistance, a figure who could inspire future uprisings. So, Gbehanzin, the Shark King, the ruler of one of Africa's most powerful kingdoms, was exiled. He was first sent to the Caribbean island of Martinique, and later to Algeria in North Africa. He was a king without a kingdom, a prisoner of the colonial state he had fought so hard to resist. In exile, Gbehanzin never lost his regal bearing or his dignity. He carried himself as the king. He was a living embodiment of Dahomey's lost sovereignty. He repeatedly petitioned the French government to allow him to return home, not to rule, but simply to die on the soil of his ancestors. His requests were always denied. The French feared his presence, even as an old, powerless man. In 1906, after 12 years in exile, Gbehanzin died in Algiers, thousands of miles from the land he loved. But his story doesn't end there. Even in death, his spirit remained a potent symbol for his people. In 1928, after years of campaigning by his son, the French finally relented and allowed Gbehanzin's remains to be repatriated to Dahomey. His return was a momentous occasion. Tens of thousands of people lined their roads to welcome their king home. It was a national event, a moment of mourning, pride, and renewed cultural identity. He was buried in Dahomey, the city he had fought so desperately to protect. Today, Gbehanzin is remembered as a national hero in Benin. He is not seen as a king who lost a war, but as a patriot who fought a valiant, if ultimately tragic, battle for freedom. His story is a powerful reminder of the brutal reality of the colonial encounter and the profound resistance it inspired across the African continent. He was a man caught between two worlds, the old world of African kingdoms and the new world of European empires. He chose to fight, to resist, to stand for his people's right to. Gbehanzin, the last king of Dahomey, lost his throne and his kingdom, but he never lost his honor. His legacy is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the life of one of Africa's most iconic figures. If you found this story as compelling as we do, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you do UNM as our next exploration into the great stories of history.